Welcome to our video guide. I'm Elle, and I'm going to be talking you through one of our Understanding Diversity Data tools. This guide focuses on creating dashboards. Also in the toolkit are tools on benchmarking your data, understanding internal diversity data, and understanding external diversity data. In this video guide, we'll be covering what is a dashboard, data gaps, how to group your data, how to make it meaningful, and making them available to the right people. Okay, let's start with what is a dashboard? Well, a dashboard is a tool that visually summarizes information relevant to the people viewing it. Once you've collected your diversity data, you'll have lots of raw data, which is great. But to enable your people to easily understand the data, it's useful to use dashboards. That way, people can see the diversity data relevant to their area, division, or service, and at a glance, can see the direction it's moving in and what's driving it. At this point, we want to give a little shout out to data gaps. They are often ignored and underestimated and even excluded. But let's give them some credit, because data gaps tell you something and should always be included in your dashboards. So let's take a look at what they mean and how you can decrease them. Firstly, blanks. This is where people have simply left the diversity data field blank. This most often means that people do not see providing you with their data as a priority, or basically can't be bothered. But it may also mean they simply haven't seen your request or reminders. For example, if they're in a service role in which emails aren't a priority. But importantly, it might also be telling you people don't feel comfortable to choose the prefer not to say option. This may be particularly relevant if you have a more commanding rather than caring culture. You can decrease your number of blanks by being really clear how important this data is and what you'll do with it. You can use our Collecting Diversity Data communication templates to help you with that. Also be clear that it's okay if people prefer not to say. Finally, use different communication channels to remind people to provide their data. For example, posters on notice boards or all charity meetings. Okay, so what about data gaps due to prefer not to say responses? What are they telling you? Well, people have actively decided they don't want to share their data. This may be because they have had a negative experience in the past with sharing their data. But it's most likely to mean that they don't yet understand why you want their data and trust what you'll do with it. You can decrease your prefer not to say percentages by, again, being really clear what you'll do with the data. You can use our Diversity Data FAQ template to help you with this. But also by building trust and showing people that you really care about inclusion. See our diversity and inclusion planning and also communication toolkits to help you with this. As you increase awareness of inclusion in general and why you're collecting diversity data, you're likely to see some of your prefer not to say responses transfer to diversity groups. This is because the people who are most likely to prefer not to say are people who are from different diversity groups. For example, if you have a disability and disclosing that fact has been detrimental to you in the past, you're unlikely to want to disclose again. So as you can see, it's really important to include both blanks and prefer not to say responses in your dashboards. It helps you have a full picture, but it also gives you an idea of how included people feel. Okay, now we've got that sorted. Let's talk about how you can make your data more easily comparable to your benchmarks. To do that, you need to group your data into categories similar to those you're comparing yourself to. To make this easier for you, we've provided the groups you need to compare yourself to the UK-wide benchmarks in our Guide to Benchmarks and Dashboards. But let's just take a look at ethnicity as an example. If this is the first time you're benchmarking your ethnicity data, we recommend you start with wider groupings that align with the UK census data, specifically Asian, Black, Mixed, White, Arab, and Other. You may also want your Black, Asian, minority ethnic statistic. This will help you understand if you have general racial bias in your internal and external systems. To do that, you need to calculate the total percentage of Asian, Black, Mixed, Arab, and other people in your organisation. However, we want to be really clear that this is only so you can start benchmarking yourselves. At 3C, we don't believe the BAME label is helpful, as it ignores the differences between people of different backgrounds, prevents you creating strategies and plans that work for different people, and can just be downright offensive by reducing people to an acronym. That's why, to really understand your ethnic diversity, we recommend using the groupings that you can see here and that are available in our guide to benchmarking and dashboards. That way you can truly understand who you are and are not representing internally and externally. For example, your services may be doing really well at reaching the Indian community, but not the Pakistani community. Knowing that will allow you to explore why and amend your services accordingly. Now let's look at how to make your dashboards meaningful. So you'll want people to use dashboards to understand what's driving the diversity of their division or service and be able to act upon them. You want to make that as easy as possible for them. So here are some tips on how you can do that. Always include blank and prefer not to say in your percentages, otherwise your data will be skewed. Include the number of people you are referring to in each dashboard with an N equals. This will help people understand if the numbers are moving in smaller or greater amounts. Provide indicators for what's driving the diversity data in their area, division, or service. For example, is it recruitment, leavers, promotions? Is it the diversity of those approached for services, joining your services, or leaving your services? Include your benchmarks and targets if you have them, so everyone can understand how you measure up. Include clear indicators on which direction your diversity data is moving and key points to note. We've created template dashboards for your internal and external data, so you can see what this looks like in practice. Finally, who needs to see your dashboards and how can you make them available? Having dashboards is great, but only if the right people have access to them and own them. Everyone in your organisation should be able to access anonymous organisation-wide data and overall divisional service data. However, you also need the right people to own their relevant data, including the leadership team, service managers, and divisional managers. They need to know they are responsible for the data and what's driving it. Here are some ideas for how you can make your dashboards available. Include them on your intranet or internal inclusion pages. Integrate them in your recruitment portal if you have one. Add them to screens or notice boards in your offices and service centres. Embed them in your leadership and management dashboards with data specific to the department or area. Add them to your service dashboards. By integrating diversity data in the way that you work, it will become just part of measuring the success of your organisation, not a separate statistic. Before we go, let's sum up. To make a dashboard that will help you understand and increase your diversity, include your blanks and prefer not to say responses. Group the data in a way that's easy to benchmark. Make the data meaningful. And make the right dashboards available to the right people. Head back to Charity Culture Catalyst for the next steps in your diversity data journey.